Welcome to Resumes Rewired, helping students and yourselves with AI-powered writing assistance by James O'Connor. Today we're going to cover how to use ChatGPT and other tools to help us revise and edit already completed resumes. We're going to do this so we can both improve our own professional standing as well as help our students achieve academic and career success, especially the ones involved in the Gateway to Careers program. We're going to use ChatGPT to do a variety of tasks, but before that, we're going to just define some basic terms. We're going to move through using it to help identify areas of improvement. We're going to apply feedback while maintaining an authentic voice. One of the more important features of today's lesson is taking a stance on some ethical considerations in using AI as a writing assistant and ways that we can help prompt and provoke our students to consider these as well. We're going to demonstrate critical thinking when evaluating AI writing in a way that we can then model these dispositions going forward. And it's important for us as teachers to recognize ATS or applicant tracking system's role in job searches if we are to best prepare our own students in preparing their resumes for their own future careers as well. So just a quick overview on what ChatGPT is exactly, and this is an AI-powered chatbot. People use it for a variety of tools. One of the biggest ones is as a writing assistant in editing, brainstorming, revising, all those good things. This is really adept at pattern recognition as well, organizing lists, helping with initial drafts of things. And it is considered a large language model, and so it does this by sort of replicating a lot of the data that it's been fed already. So it's just been fed a massive amount of other people's writing, and it is sort of taking a guess based on what you are going to prompt it, which is a request that you put in. And then based on its training data, it's going to give you a response on quote it, on what it quote thinks that you sort of want to receive in return. So it's important to note that this is sort of a guessing game in a lot of ways. This is very similar software to the um, word fill. If you're typing an email and you have a suggested next word or phrase, that is very similar to what's happening here. Just tends to happen more on paragraphs or a page at a time. And it's important to note that that information that you're getting back is in a lot of ways just what ChatGPT sort of thinks that you want to see. It's not necessarily grounded in truth in any sense of the word. So it may in fact be true, but that is largely a sort of a byproduct of just what it's been trained on. It's not necessarily anything that you get back from this. You need to vet yourself. And it's just important to know that this is sort of in a lot of ways a mirror, giving you what you are asking for. So we need to be considerate in what we're asking for and also thoughtful in what it is feeding us back as well. So, with those caveats in mind, how is ChatGPT going to be useful for us moving forward? Well, in a lot of ways, this can help with just providing clarity and structure for our resumes specifically, for helping us guide students into receiving their own personalized feedback as well, because we might not always be there to provide this sort of one-on-one personalized feedback, especially after they graduate. We won't be able to do that on a regular basis. ChatGPT is great at providing more key action verbs and tailoring this towards industry-specific action verbs as well. Customizing resumes for a number of different purposes. You may want to have, say, 2 or 3 different resumes for different fields that you may be pursuing. Keyword optimization is such a big one. Overall, just kind of using this as a way to identify what are glows and grows, things that your resume is doing great and things that could be possibly improved upon. One really fun one is in mock interviews. You can plug your resume in and then you can actually go back through a process of having some sample questions that are answered and practicing a conversation with ChatGPT and some of these other tools as well. So yeah, lots of different uses. These are honestly just sort of more low hanging fruit, but also ones that are super useful and ones that are great to have in your toolbox and ones to be familiar with. So we can also be passing that information along to our learners as well. So a closer look at some of these, again, clarity and structure. Formatting is such a big thing, and especially when we're appeasing these applicant tracking systems, which we're going to get more into later. Some of the traditional thoughts on formatting, which makes visual sense to people, may no longer be, quote, sort of best practices when you're also sort of appeasing the sort of algorithm that you're going to be feeding your resume into when you're applying for jobs online and through Indeed and things of that nature. So formatting is key, and having this type of software at hand, because this is what employers are using to help review and filter out resumes, is especially important to have access to for us. So stronger phrasing is another great one. Again, powerful action verbs and making this more professional. It's a great way to help our young learners that might not know the most sort of professional way to word something, help them through that process. And then also keeping in mind that it still needs to be authentic and it still needs to sound like them at the end of the day. And just sort of keeping that in mind and modeling those dispositions ourselves is important. Um, Tailoring a resume to a specific job is super handy as well. And again, identifying these glows and grows. And I'm going to walk through that process in more detail in the second part of this presentation when we get hands-on with ChatGPT and one of the custom GPTs made for resume building. And so if you're not familiar with that, I'll show you how to get started with those custom GPTs too. So ethics is always such a big important thing. We need to be keeping this in mind for both ourselves, but also it's important to keep in mind that our learners are watching us as well, and to make sure that what's on our resume and LinkedIn page and things of that nature are honest and have integrity if we're going to expect them to do the same. So some things to keep in mind is that AI it's a tool, it's not a replacement for any sort of critical thinking. Obviously, we want to use new technology that's going to benefit us, but we need to do so in a thoughtful manner that's not going to hurt ourselves or others. We need to be making the final decisions. We have to verify anything that AI tells us. It's always good to go back, even if you've fed it your own information. There's nothing stopping this from sort of making up some data where it thinks that data looks better. So just be mindful. It's really good practice to never just sort of copy and paste right out of ChatGPT. Always make sure that you're retyping it yourself, and that way you're taking more ownership of what's actually in that document and vetting word for word that that is what you want to represent you when you're putting out your resume, and modeling those dispositions for our students as well. So again, never blindly accept those AI generated suggestions, and always make sure that you have honesty and authenticity in your applications, and that will go a long way when again we're modeling those dispositions as well. So some more ethical considerations, more ways to keep ourselves safe and to show others how to keep themselves safe as well, is never to share personal identifiers such as social security numbers, any type of full addresses, phone numbers. The resume that I'm going to show you in the second half of this, when we're in the hands-on portion, is been scrubbed clean of any sort of personal identifiers or anything of that nature. I haven't put any of that into ChatGPT. I'm only using well-reputed tools, even though this is still newer days for this. There's lots of things popping up that seem great and may be great, but if we just don't know, then we don't really know. So it's just safer to keep to some of the more well-trodden areas, as these tools are getting more online and aware for or more present for everyday users. So and something to always be considered. Again, this has been trained on large amounts of data. That data has been written by people. People have biases. So therefore, AI content is also going to contain a certain amount of implicit biases. So just keep that in mind and try to keep it's good, always a good reminder to try to keep our own implicit biases in check too, while we have our sort of cackles up about what ChatGPT may have behind the screen. So with that in mind, how do we get started? So choosing a tools is a great place to start. Grammarly says that they've been in the AI business for quite a while, which they really have been, even though most people haven't really sort of thought of them as a sort of AI company. They have great resume tools for grammar and clarity specifically. ChatGPT is going to be the most sort of conversationally based tool out there, or at least one of them. For this, and we're going to be able to use custom GPTs. So we're going to have ChatGPT acting uh, in a responsive and very similar sort of structured way. So it's going to be a way that is going to be replicable, and it's going to be reliable for us in how we use this. So it's going to act in a reliable way each time. So resume worded is specifically for scoring and is an ATS feedback. We can also get that ATS feedback from things like ChatGPT. So resume worded is one of these freemium services. So always be buyer beware. And again, it's good to keep in mind that we're using just sort of well-reputed tools, and we're not guiding our students towards anything that might be malicious, and we're not falling into any of those traps ourselves. So again, again, just a reminder, ATS is applicant tracking systems, and these are used to review and filter resumes, and we'll get more to that in a few more slides. So once you've chosen a tool and you're using AI for any of these problems, it's always best practice to use clear prompts. You want to make sure that you're giving it a specific request. Is always a good idea. You're not just saying something like "make my resume better." What does better look like? A good prompt would be to help me rewrite this bullet point to be more action driven, and giving it a specific bullet point and a very specific task. You want to be clear without giving it too much information. And then you'll see that you're getting a lot more enhanced results. There's a lot to be said for taking some time to use an economy of words in this process, and also just thinking about what your own usage is like with this as well. These are new tools. These takes a lot of energy on the backside for things like these to work. So you just want to make sure that you're not taxing the system more than you need to, and making the most of those resources as well. So reviewing and editing, once we've chosen our tool and we've put it through the reviewing and editing process, in the module that we're going to use, it again acts in a reliable way. So it will help prompt us through what is essentially a 10-point rubric that helps provide feedback for resumes, and then it will once you provide it your resume, then it reviews that, and it has you revise that information and just make sure that that all sounds accurate, and moving forward. And then so it's up to you to then take those suggestions and do what you think might be best. Ask yourself, does this follow best practices? Does this sound like me? Um, and yeah, so again, one last note on this. What is ATS? So applicant tracking systems. These are these are AI algorithms that are used to review and filter resumes. And so why is this important? Well, so your employer has this. And so until now, it's been pretty hard for the average person to have access to tools like this as well. So this is just a great tool to have in our own resources, or our own toolbox as educators, to pass along to others to use themselves to help ensure future employability, and the fact that they can stay competitive with others as well, because that's unfortunately kind of what the name of the game here is. Getting through to the right person, and making sure that you can sort of bypass the gatekeeper in a way, here with your resume, making that your resume kind of quote the sort of perfect golden bullet here, to get just the right job. The estimations show that corporate job openings receive on average 250 applications each. So how are we going to stand out? We're going to stand out by making sure that we have a really high scoring resume based on these ATS rubrics that we're going to generate in the second half. So now we will get onto the hands-on portion with ChatGPT. So yeah, so stick around. Okay, now we're going to get hands-on with ChatGPT itself. And so many of you are likely familiar with this home screen for ChatGPT. This is where we would insert our prompt to get a response back. Normally, we would just be starting off a new, fresh conversation. What many of you might not be familiar with is using a custom GPT to get those reliable responses in a structured way. I'm going to walk you through that now. Just a couple things of note here. We can use the plus to add a file, such as a PDF or a Word document. We can dictate in our prompts as well, and use voice mode to hear our responses back. And so if we open up our sidebar, this gives us our other options. You can see I've done quite a bit of use with the resume analysis tool, and these are some of the other conversations that I've been having. We are going to hit Explore GPTs for searching here, and if we search for resume, generally the first thing that comes up is going to be the module made by JobRite.ai. This is just a really solid example of what these tools are good for, but definitely recommend trying out different ones to see what your results are. Your mileage may vary. So one thing to note is that this is made by an outside company, so they are very much so trying to get you, or potentially your students, to move on to their service, like more of the paid service, however that is. Some of these are advertising driven, some are subscription services. And so just know that there's generally a freemium sort of model behind some of these custom GPTs, just like free apps in the App Store. This is very, very similar to that. You can read reviews and see what other people are saying. So number 7 in productivity, and that's really kind of saying something, I think, for how great a lot of these productivity apps are inside of, or modules are inside of GPT or ChatGPT. So we're going to start a chat here. And that will normally start off for a completely new conversation. Today, just because I want to make sure that we get reliable answers and are making the most of everybody's time, I'm going to jump over in a second to a conversation that I already had. But just again, note here that we would be able to upload here a document. And what this does is it provides some sample prompts for you in the beginning, just to help you get started, and giving you a summary on what this module is designed to do. And so, yeah, so today I'm going to skip back over to a conversation that I already had. Just scroll back up. And so I chose that first block, and I just asked it, can you help me analyze my resume? Again, just being clear and concise with our prompts really helps. And so it said, of course, and it gave me 2 options. Option 1 is to switch over to JobRite.ai's website and upload a PDF to that site and have that run their own ATS compatibility checks and all that good stuff there. Or we can do that within ChatGPT, and this is going to be the option that I'm choosing today, which I think is kind of the most intuitive, as well as keeps this all on the free side and keeps us inside this one tool, which is helpful. And so choosing option 2, I wrote, let's proceed with option 2. Please, here's the resume I would like to analyze, and I utilized the plus button here, upload from computer, and then uploaded a sample resume that I had. And again, keeping our ethical considerations in mind, I scrubbed all of the personal identification off of this resume, and this is just sort of a sample resume of a librarian in training. So yeah. Once you upload the resume, what this first does is it, within a matter of seconds, reviews your resume and then regurgitates out what it believes it to be the pertinent information, and then asks us to review this. So we just take a second to review. Again, I scrubbed the information, so my name on the resume that I supplied it is literally first name, last name, and then my location is listed as any town, state, and zip. So this all looks good. And then we get to our experience point. And again, this all looks good. I reviewed this earlier, and so I know that all of this information looks accurate to me. And so the final question here would be, is this extraction accurate? And then it also provides our first sort of suggestion here. It asks, do you have a skills or summary section? We see that that was missing from the resume, and then mentions that these are highly recommended for optimization. Again, that's ATS optimization in general, or just optimizing your resume for employers to review. So once you confirm, I'll move ahead with the overall diagnosis. So again, I just want to respond in a detailed but concise manner. So I say the extraction looks correct. I do not currently have a skills or summary section. This was lacking in the resume that I provided it. And this is a real world resume. This is one that a coworker gave me that I think was a great example of a bare bones resume. That is one that definitely had opportunities for improvement, but because of the fact that it had such solid groundwork in other areas, this was just prime for reviewing and revising. So that's why I chose this one for our example here. And then I asked in my prompt, could we move on with the overall diagnosis? Just wanted to make sure I answered all of its questions and moving the ball forward. So here it gives this overall diagnosis. This is one of the key factors or key benefits of using one of these pre-scripted, or not scripted, but pre-designed, pre-prompted modules and built in within ChatGPT, designed for resumes, instead of using ChatGPT itself, because here it's going to act in an extremely reliable way based on its pre-scripted prompts. And so this resume diagnosis runs through the same 10-point rubric reliably each time you put a resume through. And so just to show that this is the dimension that it's grading us on. This is our score out of 10 points, and then some comments that are personalized to our specific resume. And so these also help identify maybe what it means by the action verbs as well. But always feel free to follow up with a question or a prompt that is going to help you have ChatGPT maybe explain what it means by something like, what do you mean by emphasize accomplishment or the methodology? Can you explain what you mean by that? And ChatGPT would be happy to help you know what it means more in detail with that. So and just keep in mind that we are taking this with a bit of a grain of salt. So we are using this again as a tool. We're not replacing our critical thinking with this. We're not suggesting that our students replace their critical thinking with this. We want to model a disposition of exploration and inquiry, while also being skeptical and pragmatic about what the benefits are here. So in our particular example, we scored really high on certain areas, and that should make us feel pretty good about our resume. But there are certainly a couple areas where we, based on this rubric anyway, are marked for improvement. And it's up to us to start digging in now and maybe following up with some extra prompts and seeing what areas we, based on the feedback on what we actually think could be improved. So in this, it gives us a total score. We scored 77 out of 100. One thing to note is that if you do upload a resume multiple times, you may see varying scores, which is interesting, and they do tend to fall approximately close, but you may score slightly higher or slightly lower, depending on how it seems like ChatGPT may be feeling in the moment, which should also be just one more point in the favor of taking this for what it is, as suggestions and not anything to be set in stone, and certainly not preaching that to our young learners as well. So here it says we have a solid foundation, and then gives us a couple of key points on things that we could improve, such as that summary and the skills section. I highly agree. As well as rephrasing some duty-based bullets to focus more on accomplishments and methodology. That is certainly something that ATS software is highly looking for, would be measurable accomplishments and methodologies, We, in general, we kind of, as people, sort of tend to focus more on our duties, our day-to-day responsibilities, rather than the delivered outcomes or products of our actual duties and responsibilities. And that is something that a lot of people, I think, tend to maybe overlook a bit on their own resumes and could improve upon. So this is a great tool for helping identify areas for improvement in that area as well. And it looks like we could diversify some action words, and that might be great. Okay, so next steps. Well, what would you like to do? It says I could do a more detailed analysis, etc. I really wanted to see why we got that 6 out of 10 on our methodology score. So I said, I see that the methodology score for this resume is relatively low. Could you provide a list of specific examples on which bullet points could be improved and potential suggestions for doing so? So again, I'm being cordial, professional, but also being yeah, I was limited in my words as I feel like I can be for that. So it's a great question. Absolutely right to focus on this, and we jumped over. So it identified bullet points specifically for that. And so instead of just saying, manages branch team volunteer, maybe we want to have more of a developed suggestion here. And so again, these are just suggestions. We are going to make sure that we are ourselves maintaining authenticity, but also making sure that we're stressing that to our learners as well, that we're not just sort of just going to come in here and copy and paste that and drop that right in without realizing that we might not have vetted everything here, or in this case, it's waiting for us to drop in a variable or drop in a specific number where it just has a variable on how many teen volunteers we've worked with. Here again, a percentage. This is really nice because just one thing to watch out for. Sometimes it will just make up statistics and place that in there rather than just leaving a variable here. If you find it's doing that, then you can always include that in your prompts to say, please never make up statistics when revising this. Just include a variable and maybe mention that in a prompt that you're working on. So yeah, so I thought that was great. This gave me some food for thought in that area, and then it gave me some just something to follow up on as well. So I said, great, that's great. I was really interested to dig into the summary section. I think this is another great area that ChatGPT uh, really shines, is helping you draft short inspirational messages that sort of hype you up, but also it's great to feed it your own accurate information. And I think a lot of times it has a way of phrasing things or placing things in context that you might not have yourself. Um, so I asked, could you help me one, and maybe also suggest best practices on placement and formatting for the summary section. Um, and yeah, it was great in this regard. It definitely gave me some best practices here. This is something you'll want to take into consideration for yourself. And I thought all of this did fall within what I would consider to be best practices at the moment for resume writing and reviewing. And then it also provided me with a drafted summary, which I thought was a good start. I would definitely personalize this myself, and again, make sure that we're maintaining authenticity and keeping ethical considerations in mind. That everything in there needs to also be true as well as representing you as well as possible. And then suggested formats, and this was a nice, just kind of a diagram of where to place that. Um, and I said, thank you. And I was a little curious about what it meant by the emphasize accomplishment here. We scored a 7 out of 10 in that area on this resume. So I also kind of earmarked that as an area for potential improvement. And in that regard, I wanted to make sure I came back there. So I asked it, could you provide me with a list of specific bullet points that you could see possible improvement on this dimension? And then could you also more clearly define what you meant by emphasizing accomplishment, and asked how employers and ATS may use that information. So Here, again, it highlighted what I mentioned earlier about kind of the difference between duties and accomplishments and why this might matter for employers. So, this is just a good example, I feel, of not taking something as gospel that it has to say, but maybe digging in or following up with some extra questions on areas that you might be confused, and feel free to push back and sort of challenge some of these ideas as well. So here it gives bullet points needing accomplishment focus, and then also provides your suggestions as it did above. And in here, just to show, it is also somewhat choosing to make up some of these statistics. Some of these look accurate based on the resume, but some of these also look somewhat fabricated to me. So again, just sort of um, keeping that in mind as you move forward and use this as a tool. You always want to make sure that you're verifying this yourself. And from here, you could follow up with lots of different prompts. I would likely take this back now and start actually revising these different points. But yeah, this would mostly conclude the hands-on portion for the ChatGPT portion of this. I will include in the presentation links to a choice board activity that either yourself or your students could use to explore and generate some additional ideas on ways that you can use ChatGPT and similar tools to again up your resume game and make the most of this emerging technology. Once again, thank you for viewing, and be sure to check out the instructional handout for more information and the choice board of activities for inspiring play. Please feel free to share these resources and your experiences with your students and others so that we can continue to share and evaluate educational tools that together will best support student learning outcomes, in part through the continual professional growth of our faculty. Thank you.